Hello, this is Jennifer with Studio J Creations, and I'm going to do a card today using the Drive-By stamp set from the 2022 January and February celebration catalog. So this goes until February 28th, so a little over a week left. So the Drive-By set and then the Artfully Composed Designer Series paper, which is in the January through June 22 mini catalog. And so many great elements with that suite. Today we're going to focus on the paper as well as the faux sea glass here. But great suite, the entire suite, all of the items you see here together for $90. And to earn a free celebration set is a $50 order for one of these, and then some of them in here are a $100 order. So two small ones for $50, or one small one for every $50. So with a $100 order, you'd get two, or a $100 free item, a free item with a $100 purchase. So that again is just until February 28th. So as you can see, there's some really great colors here. Ink we're going to focus on today is Pale Papaya. We're going to use the Calypso Coral Marker. Lots and lots of different colors in here. Here's the sea glass that is part of the Artfully Composed suite. 3 different colors, really fun, add some neat elements to the card. Drive-by set. So then here are the papers that come with the Artfully Composed Designer Series paper. Double-sided, 6 different designs, 2 of each. Some really pretty papers, lots of fun colors. So we're also going to use a little bit from the current paper pumpkin set. So this is the February 22 paper pumpkin set, and it is a safari celebration. And what we're actually going to use from it, there are some little sea glass that come with that, and then the stamps that come with it have some of that tropical look. So we're going to use this and a couple of the greetings because they fit with the drive-by and with that birthday celebration. So you'll see a little bit of those elements. So the card papers that I'm going to use today are the Old Olive, the Bumblebee, and the Mint Macaroon. Now these are just half of a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, cut in half to 5.5, and then just 4.25 by 5.5, and then just folded in half. So you've got 4.25, 5.5, and then the card top is just a 1/4 inch smaller than that. So when you've got your folded card, 4.25 by 5.5, and then the card topper is 4 inches by 5.25. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our card topper right away on there. Center it right there in the middle of the card. And then I'm going to set that aside. Now for the stamps, we're going to use, this is a 1/8 of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So it is 4.25 by 2 3/4. This is a really nice size because if I used it full, I can get it into the middle of my card and it's still going to show a lot of my designer series paper. I can also cut it down and use a couple different elements, which is what I'm going to do with it today. Now I'm using the black Memento ink. Now this is not a completely waterproof ink, but it's a fast drying ink and it is water resistant. So I'm going to go ahead and use that because it doesn't stain my stamp quite as much as the Stays On ink. Here's the Stays On ink. If I was going to really be watercoloring a lot on these images, I'd want to use the Stays On because it is completely waterproof. But today I'm using the Memento. So I've put my little van there, and I'm just going to take my greeting and stick it up here. I'm going to cut these 2 elements apart, but easily could get both of those elements onto that 1/8 of a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. So set those aside, and then I'll bring in, I've inked all 3 of the different vehicles that are in that drive-by set. And I've inked a couple of the greetings from that set, as well as 2 of the greetings from the February 22 celebration. So these are all some options that I'm going to use. So the first thing I want to do is start to color. I'm going to start out with this little van. Now there's lots of different options for ways to color a stamp like this. I actually don't usually gravitate towards the line art stamps. I tend towards more of the bold stamps because it does take a little bit of time to color this in. But I'm going to show you a couple different ways to color. So one way, I've got an ink pad here, and I've squeezed the ink pad while it was shut, and so you can see the ink is on the lid there. So one way to ink these is to use this as a palette. Now I'm just going to do this one for just for the dirt underneath, and I'm just going to kind of swipe it across there. And that's what I'm going to do with that. Now I could do the entire thing using lots of different colors of ink and the paintbrush, rinsing it out in between. But for this one, I'm going to show you then using the marker. So I've got the Calypso Coral marker, and with this guy, I want him to look like a little VW bus. So I'm going to start down here. I'm actually going to ink it up at an angle there so that it leaves that bit of white on the front of the bus. And the fenders are the same color as the body of the bus. So I'm just going to start to color that in. As you can see, it does take a little bit of time. So I've got one that I already finished, so I'm going to bring this one in. But you can see once the marker dries and once the watercolor dries, the combination of the two works well there. And so now I'm going to put a couple of my pieces of sea glass on here, kind of a beach feel, tropical feel with the Artfully composed paper. So I'm going to bring in a blue. Looks like my back came off there. There we go. These are adhesive backed, but you kind of got to get a fingernail underneath them to pull the adhesive up. So I'm going to grab a couple, one of each one, and put that little pieces of sea glass kind of in the sand by the bus there. So I'm going to show you some others that I've already colored. So here's another bus I did. This one I used marker on the bottom instead of using the watercolor. This one I colored to look like the wood paneling on the VW Bug. This one is watercolor on the bottom, and all the rest is marker. So this one's all marker, this is marker and watercolor, and then this is all watercolor. I used all the different kinds of different color ink pads and squeezed them and used the lids as a palette and watercolored this entire one. So there's all the different ways that we can do it. I'm going to set this aside and we're going to pull this in. I'm going to center my little bus on this one. And I've already put the sea glass on there, so just a little bit bumpy as I put my Stampin' Seal. I'm going to center this bus right in the middle of the card. And then I'm going to pull in one of my greetings. I'm going to use this driving by one. So driving by just to say hi. Now remember, with the Stampin' Seal, the best way to get it to let loose is to flip your wrist and pop it up. So I'm going to center that on there. That one's a little bit longer than I want it, so just going to take it and line it up and snip that extra edge off of there. Now for this, I've got a little piece of ribbon that I'm going to put some adhesive on. And just a frayed ribbon that's going to go right along the edge there. And then I'm going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals to pop this up. And add that right there to the card. And there we go. And I'm going to bring in two other finished ones. And on these ones, this is where I used the one of the other, that little leaf from the paper pumpkin. So, and you could do it with, you could do it without. It really does add a lot to use the leaf on the background before putting the greeting together. So there you go. We've got the Driving By celebration, which is free through February 28th, as well as the Artfully Composed Designer Series paper and some of the other elements from that suite, a few things from the February 22 paper pumpkin, and lots of different color inks, marker, as well as paper. So all of the sizes of everything, as well as links to the items specifically, are all in the notes on the video. So thanks so much for joining me.